This video is a deck idea for the Guardian class for Arkham Horror Living Card Games, specifically Leo Anderson. We're going to be putting together a deck for sort of a consumable ally build. This is a little bit strange, a little bit different. Hope you enjoy it. All right, first off, we're going to break the mold a little bit. A lot of times when you're playing these games, players are kind of hesitant to have their allies die. I'm going to throw that out the window and say we're going to have consumable, usable allies in this deck with the intent, if they die, we're going to use that to fuel some of our other abilities. So to get this combo going, first we're going to use Leo Anderson. And one of the things that he can do is bring out allies very cheaply every turn. So you can get a reduction in the amount of resources it costs to bring that out. We're going to throw in 2 copies of Guard Dog, and we're going to throw in 2 copies of the Venturer. And I'm going to show you why we're doing that. Leo Anderson allows you to put rogue cards into your deck. We're going to take 2 copies of the Decorated Skull and put it into this deck build. What this does, it allows you to put charges on this card when allies get killed, other investigators, or enemies at the location get defeated. What's great about this is that we're going to use our allies to soak up damage and do things like give us extra ammunition. So the Guard Dog allows you to wound enemies when it gets hit in combat, and the Venturer is going to allow you to recharge some of your firearms, giving extra ammo charges to them. So we're going to use these allies to soak up damage, and then we're going to cast them aside. In doing so, we're going to build up charges on the Decorated Skull, and that's going to allow us extra card drawing and resource generation. So this is a fantastic combo to put into the deck. Leo Anderson allows you to put out these allies for cheap, and now we're going to consume them, and we're going to use their special abilities to give us an advantage in the game. 2 copies of Inspiring Presence are going to be added to the deck. These are skills that allow a lot of different skill icons, as you can see on these cards. And when you play this and the skill check is successful, you can heal damage or horror on your allies. So we're going to be kind of beating up our Venturer and our Guard Dogs in this deck. So we're going to use this skill card to give them just a little bit of a second wind. We don't want to completely destroy them necessarily too quickly. As an example, we want to keep the Venturer alive long enough to take all of the supplies. So one of the things we can do is we can tap the Venturer, pull one of those ammo tokens off, recharge one of our firearms, then we can play this Inspiring Presence card. We can unexhaust or ready the Venturer, and that allows us to then take another supply token off and load up a firearm. So in one turn, we can take 2 of those supply tokens off. So this is a great way to really get the most out of your allies. Also with the Guard Dog, it gives your Guard Dog an extra hit, so you can use that to burn down your enemies a little bit more. Anytime the Guard Dog gets hit, you can use it to essentially counterattack and wound an enemy. Next up is weapons for this deck. Add 2 copies of the 45 automatic and 2 copies of the machete. The Venturer will allow you to recharge your 45 automatic. You can take those supply tokens off and add ammo tokens to the 45. This is a great combo, and it allows you to be constantly shooting that firearm and getting the most out of it. The 45 automatic is arguably one of the, it's at least one of my favorites in the game. It allows you to increase your combat prowess, and it increases your damage. Anything that gives you extra bonus damage in this game is really great. It's a time savings, so think of it as you're killing enemies quicker, thus you don't need as many actions to bring them down. It's really a time-saving mechanism. 2 copies of each. If you want a little bit of healing in your deck, specifically to remove horror from your character, Liquid Courage is the card to add to it. Something else I like about it is that this card utilizes supply tokens. Thus, you can use the Venturer's special ability to recharge your 45 automatic, or you can add additional charges to your Liquid Courage flask. So think of it as the Venturer is a little bit multi-talented, can fill up both of these cards. This card's fantastic. It allows you to remove that horror from them. So some of your characters, they really don't have a really good value when it comes to the horror that they can take before they're defeated. So you could use Liquid Courage to both bolster yourself, or you can bolster other players that are on the table, and this is a fantastic option. Leo Anderson is great at fighting, but really awful at evasion. With only a 1 agility ability score, this character cannot evade things. There are times when you're playing Arkham Horror where you really need to evade something. So I'm going to recommend putting 2 copies of Decoy into your deck, or something that you can use to evade enemies. Decoy is great. You don't even have to make a skill check. You just simply pay the resources and you automatically evade something. Having a little bit extra ammo in this deck goes a long way. Here's a couple cards that I throw in for fun factor over just raw power. And the first one is Warning Shot. And this card allows you to use an action, and you can spend an ammo from a firearm asset, and you can move all non-elite enemies at your location to a connecting location. As we mentioned before, Leo Anderson's evasion is really awful. So if you get completely overwhelmed and overrun with enemies and you need them to back off, Warning Shot is a fantastic card to get them to basically flee the area, which is fantastic. The other one that I like to use is Eat Lead. And when you're playing Arkham Horror, there are always those battles where you have to make the shot. You have to bring down the enemy, you're running out of time, or you don't have much life left and you're about to be killed. So one of the cards that I really like is Eat Lead. It allows you to use an extra ammunition on your firearm, and you can draw 2 tokens from the Chaos Bag to make the skill check for the fight action. So this is kind of fun, and it definitely feels a little bit desperate. You're kind of spraying you're spraying bullets over the battlefield and hoping that one of them hits. This is a great card. Also, if you're kind of on the ropes and you're about to be annihilated, it's a fun way to bring it back, and it's definitely thematic. Every deck in Arkham Horror needs some way to investigate and gain clue tokens. So on a very basic level, I just threw in 2 basic cards. The first one's Flashlight. That's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of decks have it. And then the second one, this is also a very basic sort of Guardian card. It allows you to get a clue token after you wipe out an enemy. So recommend putting 2 copies of each of these into your deck to enhance your investigations. Let's go ahead and close out this deck build with the last 6 cards. 2 copies of Perception, 2 copies of Unexpected Courage, and 2 copies of the Emergency Cache. These 2 cards on the right, they usually go in the vast majority of the decks that I build, and I see most players put these in. Let's do a quick summary of the Leo Anderson consumable ally deck. First, Leo Anderson can bring out allies for very cheap with a resource deduction of 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw out the Venture, and we're going to throw out the Guard Dog onto the table, and we're going to use those abilities to sort of fuel the rest of the deck. Once these allies are defeated, it's going to add charges to the Decorated Skull, which allows us to have a little bit more resource generation and card drawing, which is always important in any of these card games. Secondarily, the Venture will use the supplies to recharge your firearms, and you can use it to recharge your Liquid Courage. As a sort of tertiary strategy, note that you're going to have a little bit of extra ammo in the game due to the Venture. You can use that to put down some sort of fun combos using both Warning Shot and Eat Lead. To really sort of bring this together, this deck is a lot of fun to play. It's very thematic. Leo Anderson is leading these people into the investigation. He's a little bit self-centered, we're going to say, because they're giving up their lives and they're sort of sacrificing themselves for the investigation. It's kind of a strange deck to play, but I think it really works, and it's a lot of fun. Hopefully you learned some interesting card combos, and maybe this has sparked some creativity and ideas for you to build your own interesting decks in Arkham Horror Living Card Game. I want to thank you for your time today, and as always, have fun gaming.